Hiking high up on the mountains wasn't something new for 18-year-old Jenna Otter, but getting mercilessly tortured by a bear wasn't something she'd imagined. In 2005, Jenna, along with her father, took to Glacier National Park, where Grizzly, along with his two cubs, was waiting for them. In a state of horrification and panic, the only thing they relied on was instinct. However, their coming alive out of those peaks was nothing less than a miracle. Join us as we take you through this thrilling tale of Jenna's encounter with a bear that left the world stunned. Jenna Otter belonged to a family of hikers. Her mother, her little sister, and her dad loved exploring heights. Other than hiking, one thing Jenna was brilliant at was dancing. So when she graduated from high school with a full scholarship at the University of California at Irvine, she decided to celebrate this life-changing event by spending time with her dad. The two of them drove to Grinnell Glacier from Escondido.Johan Otter, the father of Jenna, liked hiking very much. He's been to the boldest hiking locations in America. As for that day, the duo decided to go to Grinnell Glacier, an 11-mile round trip that they were willing to take. To get the full experience and avoid the crowds, they left early in the morning and reached the head trail at 7 a.m. As the two stepped forward, they realized that the weather was very favorable for hiking, as the skies were clear despite the rainstorm that occurred the previous day, and the temperature was also stable. Moving ahead of the nature path, they got onto a rocky slope with a few shrubs that surrounded it. The two crossed Josephine Lake and were hoping to reach the Iceberg Lake in the afternoon. But before they could do that, they got horror-struck. Jenna was ahead of Johan when she saw a grizzly and his two cubs, and that's when she was hit by the instinct to run. So naturally, she took 2 steps back. Before she could use the pepper spray that she had picked up on her way, the grizzly attacked her and knocked her out. Jenna was blacked out most of the time and couldn't make sense of what was happening around her, as she fell 50 feet down in a different direction. As for Johan, he wasn't even paying attention to the scene and kept walking until Jenna shouted. After watching his daughter in trouble, Johan stepped in front of his daughter to protect her. As he was witnessing the beast with claws and fangs, he decided not to move so that he might survive. But that decision didn't end well for him. The bear ran towards him and attacked his left thigh, biting it, scooping the flesh out from it with its mouth, and did it all over again, sending Jonah into a frenzy as he vainly tried to make sense of what was happening. Unable to fight back, he fell onto his feet and tried to go into the fetal position, which is known to be a smart tactic to avoid an attack. But unfortunately, it bit him again on the leg. Realizing how badly he was injured, Johan thought that the only way to save his life was getting off the slope. So that's what he did, and rolled 20 feet below. With the bear gone out of sight, he thought that there was no danger now. But the trouble was far from over. Soon he realized that his daughter may be alone with the beast, and that made him gather the strength, and he started yelling his daughter's name, thinking he could call his daughter into a safe zone, but instead he alarmed the grizzly and found him running towards him. Even though Johan was laying down on the slope, he was shocked to notice the speed of the bear. He could have run for his life at that point, but instead he chose to stick to his guts and remain in the fetal position. Once again, he was betrayed by his instincts and was attacked by the bear, who shook his body up and down like it weighed nothing. Johan was severely injured by his bites and his life flashing before his eyes. He couldn't stop thinking about his daughter, knowing that she needed protection. His loud and painful screams kept the grizzly busy with him while his daughter was laying unconscious somewhere on the hill. So he took another chance at survival. Johan realized that he had lost a lot of blood, and that with one more strike from the bear could be fatal to him. He decided to roll again, and this time he went 30 more feet down the slope, but unluckily he fell onto his back and soon had the grizzly on top of him again, ready to tear him apart. Johan tried fighting back by grabbing his throat, but once he attempted to do that, he realized that this creature was tougher than he had imagined. After failing to grappling him, he took another shot, and this time he tried to break his nose with a rock. But luck was not on his side with all these attempts. The rock he picked out turned to be brittle and ended up crumbling. And as a right-handed person, he couldn't do much with the rock he held in his left hand. In this dark moment, what kept Johan in his right mind was his daughter Jenna. All he remembered in that 3 to 5 minute encounter was that she needed to be rescued, and he couldn't think of anything else. Not even his life that was hanging by a thread. But then something happened that made him think about his life. He felt teeth piercing through the nape of his neck with immense pressure. and thought what would happen to his daughter once he's dead. And that's when he decided that giving up at this point was not an option. Taking a leap of faith, he slid 20 more feet down the slope and by some miracle stopped right at the edge of the hill ahead, which was several 100-meter drop. This time, when the bear came closer, he knew that if he'd attacked, there was no hope for him. So he pretended to be dead. The bear left him alone and went away. Anxiety crept in at the thought that the bear went right after his daughter, but when he called out her name, she answered back, and that gave him a sigh of relief. Jenna was covered under some bushes and had several wounds on her body. The mere thought of knowing that each of them was fine was enough for them at the moment. The two kept lying where they were, as they were too weak and frail to get to each other. They both discovered 45 minutes later by a couple that were hiking on those hills and were reported to a ranger who ended up leading a group there. The ranger sent a radio message. As they were waiting to be rescued, people started gathering around, helping them by retrieving their items and tending to their injuries. 2 hours later, the medical team arrived. They had to wait 4 more hours for helicopters to reach them and fly them away to a medical center where they could be saved. Even though the two of them barely made it out alive, they didn't give up and survived one of the deadliest animals. They were taken to Kalispell Regional Medical Center, where Jenna was cured of the 2 bear bites she got. One stretched from the corner of her mouth straight to her head and the other on her shoulder. She also got some stable fractures and had broken ankle. Meanwhile, her father was taken to Harborview Medical Center in Seattle, where he got a 7-hour surgery for his neck fractures. His skull was almost torn open by the bear, and his right eye socket was seriously damaged, for which he got 3 surgeries. He admitted that later he used to get double vision sometimes and went to a physical therapy for his stick stiffness too. Jenna, on the other hand, recovered well and went to pursue dancing at Cal Irvine. Right after the incident, it was resolved that this bear attack should be considered a defensive move, and he was trying to protect his cubs. The park was sealed right after the attack, but the attacking grizzly was never found. However, this incident alarmed all hikers in the area, making them cautious of their surroundings, and gave them a life lesson for not leaving for a hike without pepper spray. Thank you for watching the entire video. If you liked it, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video your biggest thumbs up. We'll see you guys next time.